Hi, sax players. It's Mr. Y, obviously. Going to do a little lesson here and performance on the Habanera from Carbon by Georges Bizet. This is arranged by James Charnow. It's a level 2 Nisma solo. First thing you want to do, of course, is go through and number your measures. I'm going to be referring to measure numbers throughout. There are 75 measures in this song all total. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and pause the video and do that now. Okay, a couple things to be careful of. First of all, your key signature up to 14 or 13 actually is a little different than saxophone players who tend to be used to, are used to playing it. We got B flat and E flat, and of course that means also the Fs are natural. Fs and Cs are natural, so you got to be careful about that. In the first statement of the melody here, there's quite a bit of detail in terms of your staccatos and your tenutos. Remember, the staccatos are nice and short, separated from the next note and the previous note, and the tenutos are nice and long, so kind of full value notes on the tenutos, the little lines above the notes. The staccatos, of course, the little dots above the notes. Would be nice and separated. There are some dynamic changes, just little ones here, really mezzo piano and then crescendo up to mezzo forte, then you come back down, just a couple little waves really. Starting at 14, you do have B naturals and E naturals as well as F sharps, so you may want to go through and mark the first couple of those. They've marked, they haven't, in 16 for instance, the very first note is a B natural, and because the melody from 14 up to 16 is the same as it was before, but before had a B flat, that's going to be a little tricky. So you may want to go through and mark a natural on that one. Maybe the next one too. The next one's in measure 19, the last note in measure 19. I would probably go ahead and mark that. You may want to mark your first F sharp too, just to make sure that you're in the right ballpark there. There is a sharp right before 14, an F sharp, I mean right before 14. There's one right before 18. You know, there's a couple of those that way, of course. In terms of dynamics, you've got some little waves going on here. Nothing too serious, really, in terms of technique. Probably the hardest little part is measure 54, where you have those 4/16 notes in a row, the F sharp and E and C sharp and D, and then going up to the B. That happens a couple of times. This song, by the way, if you listen to actual vocal performances of this is from an opera, of course, called Carmen, and the tempo really flexes quite a bit more than this one does. This one's written to be able to be played by a younger player, of course. So the flexible tempos aren't really there. What they've done is they've extended some of the notes as almost like a fermata. They didn't put the fermata in, but they almost extended some of those notes kind of like that. Going from 49 into 50, going from 54 into 55. There's examples of that you're going to hear. In terms of technique, like I said, you may want to take 54 and just work it a little bit at a time. Do the focus your energy thing. Practice rule number 5. Take like the first note. You got an F sharp. Just the first two notes, F sharp, E sharp, then add the C sharp. And then another note. Until finally. That kind of thing. Like I said, lots of dynamic changes here, lots of staccatos, lots of tenutos. Nothing too hard in terms of notes and rhythms, that kind of stuff. Oh, there is one high note that you may not know. In 62, starting in 62, there are a couple of high D naturals. High D natural is your first palm key on the saxophone, kind of this palm key on the saxophone, not either of the other two, but the first one that you'd hit with your palm. That's why they call them palm keys. It's really called the high D key. You do use your thumb key as well with that, and that gives you the high D. No other fingers there at all, okay? Just the palm key and your thumb. So as you go through and do that, there's, I don't know, 5 or 6 of those probably. Nothing too serious. I think I'll play a recording. I'll do a performance. I mean, just starting at the beginning. If I need to stop and clarify things, I will, but I think we probably will do this. Oh, and when you have a whole bunch of rests in a row, that's really just where the piano would play. Remember, you don't have to count those. Just take a little pause, take a little breath, and then continue on with the next one, okay? If it's a short rest like 51, 52, that kind of rest, yes, you do want to count that rest. But if it's a longer rest like at the very beginning of the song or 39, that's not something you need to count. Just take a pause, come back in. Okay, ready at the beginning? skipping the rest for 47. And 2 and 1. And 2 and 1. Sorry. And 2 and 1. Yeah. It occurred to me there might be one other note you don't know. Right before the high D. The high D, by the way, happens, let's see, let's find the first example. Measure 62, the last note in that measure is a high D. It's the one above 2 ledger lines. There's 2 ledger lines, and then the note is above that second ledger line. The one that's right before the high D at 62 is a high C. You may not have seen that one before, too. High C is where you have your thumb key down in the back, your octave key, plus the C fingering, the first finger, second finger, I should say, up front. Okay, so you may not have seen that one before, too. You've probably seen the B right below that, and the A right below that, and the G, and going on down. But some of the high notes up there, remember, nice firm embouchure for the high notes. Make sure you have a good reed. Make sure you keep your lips nice and tight. Make sure you're playing some long notes every day. That's the way to keep yourself in shape. Remember, a little bit of practice every day is better than a lot of practice all at once, because we are talking about muscles here. They need to be in shape. Okay. Good luck with it. Any questions, of course, see me in class or drop me an email. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Good luck.